My name is Jonathan Hicks. Today we're doing line graphs in Excel. Here we are in Excel. Now I've done another video for drawing line graphs by hand on a piece of paper, but in this video I'm going to show you how to do it with Excel. Now if you're not familiar with Excel at all, I've done another video on a sort of Excel intro that explains what it is and how you use it, how you enter data, like the data we've got over here for example. Incidentally, I'm using the same data here as we used in the drawing line graphs by hand video, so you can compare them if you want to. Now I've gone into a little more detail on the sort of chart construction process in my drawing bar charts in Excel video. So there's a bar charts video, a pie charts video and a line graphs video. The bar chart has the most depth, so if you find I'm skimming over some of the things in this video a bit too quickly, go back and watch the bar charts one and you should find that will fill in the gaps. The principles are the same for a lot of the different charts. So there's a few extra things about line charts that can be tricky, and that's what I'm going to focus on in this video. So here's our data. We're looking at the average price of gold over the past few years. So you can see we've got the years down the left hand side here and the price in dollars down here. Now what you don't want to do is be typing the dollar sign in here when you type it in. So here you can see it says 1300. You don't want to be trying to stick a dollar at the front or anything. That will mess up your formatting. In the boxes you just want to be typing the numbers. Put the units, whatever it's measured in the column title at the top. And it saves time as well. You don't need to keep typing dollars every time. But if you try and draw the chart with all the dollars in there, it will probably go wrong. So the first thing is to select your data. Now you do that by clicking on one of the corners of the data here, holding your mouse button down and then dragging across the rest of the data like that. Once you've selected the data and just the data, then let go of the mouse button and that selection will remain. Don't worry about this white box at the top left. That's just the first one I clicked on. It is still selected along with the rest of the boxes. Now a couple of things to watch out for here when you're selecting. Don't select any extra spaces on the right or extra boxes underneath. If you do that, it will go wrong. Also, when you're selecting, don't select the column titles like that. You just want to select the data. So, like that. And then if you want to insert a chart of any type, you go to the Insert tab at the top. If we click on there, all our charts are here, and we want to create a line graph. Now, it is possible to create a line graph with the line graphs option here. There's a few different line graphs. But to cut a long story short, although you can get it to work, I think it's more difficult to do it like that. If you've got two columns of data like this and you want to plot one against the other, I think it's easier to use a scatter graph, which is this option here with little dots. Now that will just plot the points. This option here will plot the points with the straight lines joined to them. This is points with curves. This is curves, no points. And this is straight lines with no points. So we want the one where it plots the points and it joins them up with straight lines, just like we were doing on the line graphs by hand video. So if you click on that, there we go, there's our chart. Now the first thing I always do with the chart is move it onto a new sheet. You can see the sheets along the bottom here. This sheet 1 is where my data is, but I like to have the chart on a separate sheet. It makes it bigger, easier to see, and when you print it, it will print, it's like a full page of A4, and so it's easier to see what's going on. So if you click on the chart, that will give you the menus at the top. If the chart's not selected, these chart menus disappear, so just watch out for that. When you click on the chart though, you'll see the chart tools menus appear back again. Now on the design tab on the right, it says move chart. If you click that, at the top here where it says new sheet, that's what we want. Click that and you can give it a name, so I can call this line graph for example. Press enter, and now we've got a new sheet called line graph. Our data will be on sheet 1, there's the data, but here is the line graph, and now we can format it. Now there's various ways of formatting it, and I showed you using this add chart element in the bar charts video. I'd like to show you a different way of doing it in this video, which you might prefer, but there's a little plus here at the top here, and you can add things like axis labels by using that. So if I click on that, you can see axis titles. If I click on that, it then gives me some sort of placeholder titles. I also need to fill in what they are, but that's just a quicker way that you might find of adding the actual labels. So the title, if I click on that and start typing, this is going to be the price of gold in dollars. Important to specify the units. And down the left is the actual price. So again, I'll type price here in dollars. Oops. I should say dollars, not number 4. Let's hold the shift key down. And then at the bottom is going to be the years. So you can, if you click in there, just delete all the things as well and type them manually like that if you prefer. But however you type them in, whoops, that gives you the different labels. Now if you find they're too small, like the years is pretty small down there, you can click on it and then go to the Home tab, and you have all your formatting options, so you can make it bigger. Whoops. Just select that again. There we go. So if I click that, you can see it's now getting bigger. Again, the one at the side here, I can click that and make it bigger. And again, my title, we can make that bigger. Maybe we could make it bold, but you can play around with the formatting options. All the formatting options are on the Home tab. Okay, back to my chart. There's one rather curious thing you may have noticed, but the years along the bottom, it says 2010 here, Excel has put in 2010 and a half. There's a 0.5 on the end there. Now it's done that because it doesn't realize that these are years. It doesn't realize that we don't have half years in that sense. And so it just formats it in a way that it thinks is sensible. Now you can change the formatting. You need to go to the Format tab at the top here. The easiest way to do this, I think, is to click on the thing you want to format. So in this case, we want to format the numbers on the axis. It selects it. And at the top left is a Format selection box. Now when you click on that, you get this little pop-out tab here. And there's a few different options here. So you can format like the fill, the colors and things. You can add effects like shadows, but we want to format the basic options, the axis options, which is this little mini bar chart thing here. And the main thing is the major units. Now it's chosen to use 0.5, i.e. it's going to do a vertical line and stick a number at the bottom every half. Now we don't want it to do that. We want to go every one, because it's 2010 and one later is 2011. We don't want to go to 2010.5. So if you change the 0.5 here to 1 and press enter, now you'll see along the bottom it just sticks the years every one, and it makes much more sense. Now we could do a similar thing on the vertical axis here. If I click on these numbers, it will select them. Again, we've got the options here. Now this time I'm not so worried about the major grid lines here. These lines that are going across look fine to me, but it does seem a bit strange that I've got all this empty space underneath the chart. So I could change that. You'll notice the data is all sitting above 1200, goes up to 1600 or thereabouts. So if I wanted to, I could just start the graph from 1200 and just come up to there. So sometimes you do want to start at 0. It can be a bit misleading sometimes if you don't, but you might want to focus in on the important area of the graph, which starts above 1200. So the minimum of the graph, the bounds here on the right, the minimum, instead of being 0, I'm going to change that to 1200, and then it will start from 1200. So I delete that and type 1200, press enter. Now you can see the axis on the left starts at 1200, and this is now filling the graph. It's much easier to see the changes. The gold price has clearly gone up and then come back down again. So that's how you format the chart. You can then print it out, obviously, if you want to. That'll fill a nice page, but those are the main options you want to be aware of. So the format selection is the easiest way to do with it, and you can play around with these bounds and the major and minor units and things.